Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. And as you see, I'm surrounded by angels, and we'll get to why they're here in a few minutes. But we have Gemma Martinez from NFL Mexico. We have Lauren Carpenter from every other site in the world. It's easier just to list who she doesn't write for. And, of course, one of our favorites, Kacey Kasem. From Get Real Podcast. I've been on it. I'm honored I was on it very early in her career. In doing that. So they're all here. So ladies, before we get to the big announcement, which everybody is waiting for, and that's why you're here, let's talk about your past. Let's talk about the start of your fantasy football life. What got you started? Who got you in? What year was it? How did you get ingrained into the beginnings of fantasy football? So Gemma, we're going to start with you because you're our international guest. And she's vacationing in Guatemala, which is super cool.
Guadalajara. I'm in Guadalajara.
I can't say it. Yeah.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Well, I started because, in fantasy. But first of all, I already love football because I grew up watching NFL with my father and my uncles. And for me, NFL or football is family. And when they talked to me about fantasy, I was surprised because I was like, oh my God, what is this? How awesome is this? I can be the owner, the manager of a virtual football team. It's so cool. And then I started playing fantasy in 2014 because my partner, Mauricio, invited me to be a co-owner of one of his teams. And I said, well, this is very cool. This is fun. I like it. First, I get very stressed because, that, yeah. And then the next year, they told me, hey, do you want to play again? Of course, but I want to have my own team.
There you go.
And since then, I have been playing. And I love it. I think that fantasy is fantastic because we can connect in all around the world, not only in US, in Spain, Chile, in London, and I love it.
Great. All right. Kacey, how did you get your start there?
Well, a friend of mine back in 2011, I was hanging out with a bunch of Cowboys fans because I too am a Cowboys fan. So
we're hanging out. There's anything wrong with it?
No, there's something. There's a lot wrong with that.
Look,
are you okay?
There's not.
Are you okay?
I mean, no, but not because of the Dallas Cowboys.
What's your safe word?
Bye, Zeke. Okay.
I like it.
So let's see. So 2011, one of my friends, who's not my friend anymore, but whatever. I do have to give him props because he got me involved in fantasy football for the first time. So he asked me, he said, you're into football. You know all this stuff about pretend know all this stuff about football. And then he's like, you should join our fantasy football league. We need one more person. Okay. I had no clue, so they're telling me about going in and doing mock drafts to kind of get used to the platform. This was like a 10-team ESPN, like standard, and I ended up winning. So, that's, I hear that as a story from a lot of people when they say what happened and how they get hooked. Yeah.
Love it. All right, Lauren, you're up. What got you started in fantasy football?
I'm super nosy. So one of my really good friends was managing his fantasy football team. We were actually playing cornhole or bag toss, whichever one you want to call it.
Cornhole.
Yeah, cornhole, bag toss. Like some people, when they say cornhole, they're like, "That's offensive." I'm like, it's a game. Like, chill out, right?
We're gonna get woke over cornhole.
I know, like real low. I don't even know. So like he wasn't throwing. I'm like, dude, it's your turn. He's like, I'm busy. So I looked over his shoulder, and he's managing these human beings. Asked him what he's doing. He's like, oh, I'm in a fantasy football league. I'm like, this is curious. Tell me about this. So he told me about it. I'm like, this is amazing. He's like, let's start a home league. I'm like, let's do it. So like Kacey, we had a 10-person home league, which I think is way more dynamic when you talk about the player pool between 10 12 and over, right? Yeah. So I ended up, like Kacey, I won the very first year. But during that 1 year, I went like, if anyone knows me, I like launched myself fully prone head first into
Shocking.
everything that I do. Like, it's
Shocking.
not even funny. Like, it's stupid what I do. So I'm messaging all of these analysts and people on TV, and like, shockingly enough, they actually got back to me.
Really?
They were like answering my questions, and yeah, and I ended up getting to know some really big, important, that I think are important. I think they're important. People in the industry, and they were answering my questions and just kind of getting to know this industry, how the game works, and also the kind of a unicorn that it is to be a woman in this, which made it even more awesome because I was the only girl in the league. So it was very fun to win that very first year, and that got me hooked immediately. It was just an instant addiction to fantasy football, and then the research that goes behind it, and like what you can learn about not just the stats behind the human behavior of football, but also the narratives behind human behavior of football, right? Like, there's revenge games. Those things mean something. There's home games. Those things mean something. There's something there. And you can just kind of feel that game, which is, I just fell in love with it. I'm addicted. I can't. It's like, maybe I should go through like a 12-step program.
No, don't do that.
No.
I won't know. You can suggest it. I won't do it.
Is it 12-step because it's a 12-team league? Is that why there's 12 steps? I'm just wondering.
I don't know. Maybe that's
how that works. I have never been in AA because I'm not a quitter.
Problem. I don't know. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I love it. All right, so you ladies started in fantasy football. You got excited. You're into this
because we won. Because we're
you
awesome.
won. That helps. Let's not lie about that. But all of you have gotten to this amazing point in your lives that now you're well recognized in this community as some of the top female analyst experts in the country, in the world, because we're going out of the country. Gemma, let's start with you. What got you to now being NFL Mexico with our good friend Mauricio? How did that all come about? And when did it hit you like, ooh, I'm somebody. I've got this. I'm now representing my country and females in the world for fantasy football out of Mexico, which is an amazing thing. Talk about your experience of getting to that point.
Well, in 2020, Football Girls MX is a all-women's project that talk about football. We have like the Bear Girl, the Packer Girl, the Lion Girl, and all the team. And they contact me to write about fantasy. First, I was no. I can't. No. Oh no. I love fantasy, but no, hell no. But then I realized that it's very important for women and I think in all the world that to be like in a community and to understand how important is to know and to be secure in a fantasy football space. Yeah, thank you. And I said, well, yeah, why not? And I was writing and making videos only in Twitter and some videos in YouTube. And then in that time, I was new, like in Twitter, and I realized that women ask me on DMs questions, and I say, why you don't ask me on Twitter? Because I'm afraid. I don't want to
terrible.
Making some question and a guy or someone say me something that, oh no, you're not good enough of this and all that kind of stuff. And I say,
sad but true,
yeah. It's true. And then in 2021, I say, well, do you want to play? A lot of girls want to play. They ask me, but they are afraid. I said, well, I will start a league. And I start a league that called Football Girls Fantasy Bowl. And we have a lot of girls from all around the world, but in Spanish, in Mexico, in US too, from Spain, from Peru. And
it's so cool.
It was very cool, and it was great to realize that women want to play. And then in 2022, the NFL Fantasy en Español contacted me to generate content for Spanish public, And then they give me a section that first I was very nervous because in my name is Gemma, but in English is Gem.
Mm-hmm.
And they give me a section that call hidden gems that were
Oh, the hidden
Oh, I like it.
gems! Oh, hidden gems! I love that.
And it was very good to be. It's awesome to be part of and that kind of industry. It's great. Last year I met a lot of people that they opened their arms and they shared the content that I was making. And then in Mexico we have like very like I don't know, it's like a taboo or something that women cannot not do this. You only have to.
Not just Mexico, girlfriend.
No. I realized that in the expo, and it was very
Right?
good.
Yeah.
The time that I realized that it's not only in Mexico, it's all around the world. It's when I was on that panel that you were talking about that. I was like, oh my God, it's not only here, it's
Right.
in US too. And in Mexico, we don't have that kind of like history of women on fantasy. This is new.
Yeah.
And in Mexico and in Canada, you have data. In Mexico, we don't have data. And that's why this year and last year, last year I tried to make content, but to know that Spanish, not Spanish, but Latin women know about women that generate content to realize that it's not only in Mexico, they're in US too.
Mm-hmm.
And they can, on Twitter, they can follow you, all you girls. And actually, I don't know if you saw, but I make I don't know how to say in English, sorry, hilo, like
Graph.
like
Spreadsheet?
Like make a Twitter and then another Twitter and then a Twitter.
Oh, a thread?
A thread. Thread.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No.
About all of you girls.
Girl, I will be like, "Como se dice?" in like whatever in Spanish. That's gonna be like my line when we hang out again at the next expo.
Okay. And then I noticed the importance that to share for all the women that generate content, and that's why I make that in Twitter to all women can understand how important are you girls that you start a long time ago, or you have a podcast, or all that kind of stuff. And it was very important to me to share that with the community in Mexico. And well, I'm here, and I love it. And I am very grateful to NFL Fantasy en Español to be that considered women's too, because in some point there only was men's talking about fantasy. And right now, I'm one of the first one to make content in Spanish. And also in Fantasy Pros, I think that I'm the first Latin woman that make their own
podcast article
rankings.
Rankings.
Oh, rankings.
That's right. Your rankings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. Good luck
Awesome.
following that one up, Kacey, because I'm not going next.
Oh, we're going to Kacey. That's fine. Kacey, tell us about your path then from first winning your league that you were in your first year to being who you are, which we all know and love, the Kacey Kasem of Get Real podcast.
Yes. Okay, so
Best podcast ever, PS.
oh, thank you.
Nominated. She was nominated.
Hey. Well, let's see. Before all of that even happened, I started a women's fantasy league the next year after I won that league. That they kind of didn't want me back in that league, or it disbanded. I don't know. I said they were just like, yeah.
By women. That's
So I was like, well, I'm going to get a bunch of women together that are, I know like football, and maybe they feel a little uncomfortable playing around, all guys, and then it's just them. Maybe we'll all get together and we can help each other. We're learning. I'm still learning. Okay, cool. I found out that Twitter was like this space where you could go and find all this fantasy football information. And I was like, sweet, this is my cheat code. I'm doing this. I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to look at threads. I'm going to do all of that and just take in all the data that I can and all the information that I can. And I would go and talk about this on people's podcasts. And I would go, usually it would be podcasting. But then one day, Ryan with Fighting Chance Fantasy reached out to me and was like, hey, you ever thought about putting out content? I'm like, no, not really. So, so I gave it a shot. And then, from there, I just started writing, and I was writing with the footballers for a while. And then I decided,
hey, girl.
Yes. Hey, girl. Hey, I decided, hey, you know what? I really like the backstory of people that I've talked to. I really like when I first started putting out content, going to other content creators, picking their brains, trying to get information, trying to figure out where do you get information? How do you put together a website? How do you promote your tweets? How do you do all that stuff? And I was like, Matt Harmon used to do Backyard Banter, which was a behind the scenes look at the fantasy football industry. Basically, he talked to a bunch of people, and I was like, there needs to be something like that out there right now, because I know that there's such a group of people that just came in, especially when COVID first hit, where there was just content everywhere. We need some sort of guidebook to kind of help us out. So Matt's like, you should definitely do it. I had him on. I was like, this is dope. So that's what I do now. It's called Get Real with Kacey Kasem, and I just talk to people in the fantasy football space. I want to do other sports as well, but we'll stick to fantasy football at the moment. But it's just been a great, great time being able to talk to people and get their little stories, get to hear everybody's stories.
Yeah, no, like you said, I was honored to be on that, and I thought you did a great job, and you've done an amazing job with all of those. I mean, and getting to hear everybody's story, because everybody has a different path.
Fascinating.
I mean,
fascinating.
Yeah, because a lot of people, when my book won the award, and basically the second year I submitted it.
Oh, humble brag, mic drop. Hold on.
But I mean, just in that, and then the King's Class and the Expo, and all of a sudden, everybody thought I was an overnight success, because within like 3 to 4 years, everybody knew who I was, and I'm like, I've been writing since 2002. And I'm like, 20 years, folks. So yeah, my overnight success took me 16 years to get here.
Long night's sleep.
But yeah, and I said it because I really was never in a hurry. I was doing it for fun, and I think. Now, granted, I started early enough that by the time I got to this point, this worked out well so far. But yeah, I I created my consistency. I thought it worked for me. I was trying to share it with others. I was basically ignored for about 15 years on various different sites that I wrote for, which is fine. But I just thought it was fun that my name was, on these websites and in a magazine every year on the shelf, and thought it was cool. But yeah, not everybody has the different backstory. So I think that's great. And I love your podcast. So
thank you.
All right, Miss, I'm in every site known to man, known to life.
I mean, not every site known to life, but
yeah, you're right. You don't write for
99%.
I can though, Bob. I mean, if we want to talk after this podcast,
we can talk.
Let me know. But just to piggyback off of what Kacey was saying, if anyone listening to this has not listened to the Get Real Pod with Kacey Kasem, please do yourselves a favor and do so. I also had the honor of being on this, and I'm a journalism major. I'm a Bachelor of Journalism. So we're kind of bred to like ask questions and be good at thinking on the fly. If anyone can do this, no one can do this as good as Kacey. And I told her that. I'm like, as soon as we were done, like she would just ask me. And then I wanted to open up and like, I'm like, what part of my like deepest, darkest secrets do you want to know? I want to tell you everything. She is so phenomenal at it. It's an amazing podcast. Please listen to it. It is incredibly phenomenal. Kacey, you crush life. I'm serious.
Thank you.
You're going to be the boss of all of us one day. I'm just saying, like, you're amazing.
Well, it's not what I'm aspiring to do at all. So I thank you so much because
No,
I
you're
mean,
welcome.
you were one of my first ones to interview too. So.
Down there in the corner is Lauren Carpenter, by the way. Just check.
Oh, hi. Hi, Lucy. Sorry about that.
Lauren, tell us about your path.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just like gloating because I'm friends with these people. I know these people. Y'all, you better come to Canton and I get to know them too. So my journey, like I mentioned before, when I was doing a ton of research for fantasy football and trying to beat all the boys, because that's what we all want to do. I just want to win anyway. I don't care who I'm playing against. It could be Sasquatch or like the Pope. I don't care. I'm going to win. And I will win. I don't care what it takes. I will win, except minus going to hell. I don't want to do that. But there's a fine line when it comes to competitive Lauren over here. So I really, like I said, I started getting on Twitter, and Adam Rank from the NFL Network was a huge bonus for me. And he was like, wait a minute, you went to school where? You have what background? Why don't, this is the other question that I think we've all answered. Why don't you put out content? It's like, oh no, really? Like, yeah, just try it out. Just write an article like about whatever you feel like, throw it out to some sites, see what they say, see what the criticism is, see what the constructive criticism is, the feedback, and then just go with it. If this is something you really like to do, you're really good at this, try it. And it was just someone, a positive, just someone saying, yes, you can. I don't care if you're a girl. I don't care if you're old or young or pretty, ugly, like black, white, doesn't matter. Go do this if this is something you like to do. So I started doing that. And then just like Kacey, I listen to podcasts constantly, just absorbing content like a sponge. So I started reaching out to those people. And my very first, actually, funny story. I was visiting my mom and the fantasy footballers who are like my pride and joy place that I work for that I absolutely love and adore. My favorite podcast ever, like listen to. I love them so much because it's been years and years and years. The Spitballers, everything. They're like, we're hiring writers. I flew through like 4 red lights. I broke a lot of laws, like getting to my mom's house. And my mom's like, hi, Lamb. This is pride, obviously, to her passing. I'm like, don't talk to me. I must fill out an application. So then she and I are like filling out the application, and I'm attaching all of my work that I had done for free for a year because of someone had encouraged me to start writing and put some work out there. And I had happened to have a couple of tweets, DMs with Jason Moore. And then I was like, hey, I applied to your website, just so you know. And he's like, who are you? I'm like, don't look at my stuff, please. Read my stuff, please. And one of the things that he said when he first got hired, he's like, I don't know if this should be congratulatory or we should be ashamed, but you're the first female writer we've ever had with the fantasy footballers, which was really neat. And from there, it just snowballed into, I got contacted by NBC Sports, was contacted FTN, also Mayo Media Net. I don't work for them anymore. Just kind of like bouncing around to different places. I think all in all, total, it's been about 8 different places. Right now I'm at 4. Has it been 10?
I don't know.
It might be 10. I think it might be. I don't know. But I work for a lot of places. But that's the kind of the beauty of being a freelancer is I can freelance contractors. I can kind of bounce around and like, sometimes they need extra work. Sometimes they don't. So it's amazing to get to know the people that are in your squad. You know what I mean? And like just to get to know them because that will transcend any other thing that you do. So that's what got me into it was just the curiosity of it and the need to win and the need to do the research to find out what it takes to do it, reaching out and not being too scared to do so. And then just going for it, like all in, going for it and ignoring all the negative stuff. Like those people don't need to, don't let them bring you down. No,
that's for sure. Well, great stories, ladies. You're all amazing, and there's a reason why you're here tonight. There's a reason why we're having this special podcast because we are proudly announcing, in addition to the Kings Classic leagues that we have, including the new IDP League, we are announcing that you 3 ladies, as well as 9 to 11 others, we're still working on that, will be part of what we classify as the Queen's Classic. We will have 12 to 14 of the best female analysts in the country, including these wonderful 3 women right here, to compete at the Pro Football Hall of Fame right down the hallway from all of the other Kings Classics. We're going to take over an entire place on Saturday, August 12th during Expo weekend. So Ladies, we are so excited. We talked about this last year at the Expo. I felt like it was time when we had like 300 people packed into a 40-person.
Oh, it was tiny. Oh my God, Bob, I'm
awesome,
gonna take over. I'm gonna take over your podcast right now. I'm taking over. Right?
Yeah.
So us ladies are in there. It is butt ass early, and you saw me at 4 a.m. the night before because
Yes, I did.
May have had a couple, adult beverages, but whatever. We go up there, we come down, and so all the ladies and I were talking, and we're like, "Hey, this is really cool." And smaller room, not like tiny or anything, but it was a decent sized room.
It holds 40 people normally.
I mean, right, exactly. Yeah. That's a decent amount of people. And so the girls and I are up there, right? So I was talking to Gemma, I was talking to Kacey. Oh my gosh, talking to Britt Flynn, Kendall. It was Maddie. It was Faith, Kelly, and
all of them.
And we're like, wow. And like suddenly everyone starts filing in, and we're like, and so we're like moving our chairs back to like make room for people to stand in the back. And we're like, y'all, we have standing room only in our like room. And then so my husband may have lost his phone at the bar the night before. So he came later, and because he had my phone in order to find his phone, needless to say. So he came in and he's like, honey, there's a line all the way outside this room. And I remember, Bob, you're squeezing in people trying to get in, and you like popped your head in like.
Yeah, because somebody came, somebody hunted me down and said, "You have got to come and see the ladies' room, or not the ladies." That sounds terrible.
Oh, come on! I knew what you meant.
You got to come and see the room that they're doing the Women of Fantasy in. And I said, I turned the hall, and I'm like, "What are you people doing?" They're like, "We can't get in. There's no room." I'm like, what? And I squeeze it, and I'm like. I just waved, and I'm like, okay,
you got this. I just saw his like head come this way, and it was like, oh, I think that's Bob, and he's like,
I'm like, hey, congratulations. So we're moving you to the Women of Fantasy panel, whatever you want to call it. You will be on a bigger stage. We will definitely have you on the breakout stage. There'll be a lot more room. We can fit hundreds. No problem whatsoever. So we're excited about that. Let's talk about the Queen's Classic. So in the same format, there will be, like I said, 12 to 14 of you. We will do the same scenario. It'll be PPR, one quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and, oh, by the way, 3 flex, and no kicker, no defense. But
so this is going to be way less stressful than my first experience with any of your classics. Because I had to fill in for Mike Clay.
Yeah, so
you were playing last year in the King Classic. I told you. And I love your team.
She's sitting right beside me, literally losing her mind. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I was in between Michael Fabiano and I was in between Bob Harris. And we finished exactly almost dead last. It was Fabiano, Bob Harris, and me. But like I had injury woes I had to deal with. Like, you know what? Stop it. Stop it with your bragging. No. But that was super stressful. No, when Bob Lund calls you, when you land in Akron, Ohio, and Bob Lund calls you, he's like, hey, can you fill in for this? I'm like, you can't really say no. Yeah, this is really weird.
Yeah.
No, you can say no. You just
threw up on the phone, Kacey. I was threw up on the phone. Just like, what's happened? You look green. I'm like, nothing. Everything's fine. I'm like my dog when she gets nervous. Everything's fine.
So anyway, we're so excited for you guys being a part of this. So we know this is exciting. We know you guys are really jacked up about it. We've been talking about this for a few months now, but just so that we can kind of get people not only excited about coming to the Expo or coming to watch you. So we will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame on that Saturday from 10 to 4. If you come to the Expo, you'll get a ticket to the Hall of Fame. You can come into the rooms and watch. So all the rooms will be open. I'll explain later. We've got this huge. Think of the ballroom at the hotel, but in 3 sections, and each one of the groups will be in these sections. So we'll be all right there. Sirius XM will be broadcasting live, so hopefully they'll be able to get you guys on. So there's excitement. So we got a lot of stuff going on, but let's talk about not only the excitement of you guys doing this, but let's talk about the Expo and your guys' experiences. I think all of you have been at least 1 year. Kacey, you've been too? Okay, Kacey's been too.
Yes.
I thought so. So Gemma, this last year was your first year.
Yes.
I know Mauricio, I think, had been to it the year before.
Yeah.
So he probably was psyching you up for it. But how did you feel when you first got there, the experience, but by the end of the weekend, what was your thoughts? What would you tell somebody who's coming for the first time to do this, if they're just fantasy football fans or whatever they are? If they do some content, great. But talk about what you feel was important to you, that you felt the love that I think everybody else feels when they're there.
I love experience. I think that if you don't generate content and you are only a fan, you have to go, because all the community is great. I was very I love it. That the first day, I remember the bar on the hotel and how you connect to people in that kind of stuff. And all of you guys are awesome. When I met one of you, I was, oh my God, can I say hello? Because I'm so much
fatter.
I'm gonna meet my husband as we were outside.
Yeah, I remember that I came to you and hi. Well,
and you're like, oh my God, can I say? I'm like, oh my God, yes, for sure. Like, yeah.
And it was awesome, because you are a very great people that generate content, but also like a person. I know about you in a weird. I don't know if it's weird, but on Twitter, because the podcast of Kacey, because you can realize how are the people, what they do, what to get in fantasy. And actually, I met your dad on the elevator, and it was like, oh my God, you are your dad.
We're still going to have an Expo podcast with her dad.
I love him.
Oh my God.
He's super jazzed to come on.
Yeah.
He's just like,
I'm going to do that. I promise. Whenever you're ready, whenever he's ready.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to meet all these incredible people, the experience to make, I had the opportunity to make the draft night in the Hall of Fame. It was great. And met more people in the industry of fantasy. It was very great. I love the women I think that was called Women of Fantasy Football. That you make so much impact in that expo. I love the panel. When I saw
you were right in the front row too. I'm like, girl,
I was like your friend, because
you need to be up here with us.
She'll be on it next year, trust me.
Yeah, you're going to be on our panel next year.
It was very important for me to hear you, and I was very rewarding hearing how you all your girls.
I'm gonna cry.
Starting the industry is very important, and not only how you get, like right now I'm here, and what's next things. I remember that Kendall talked about the money, how the salary, not to be afraid to be in the same I don't know how to say it.
Payment tier, equality.
And it was very important for me.
Really good things to say too, that were really useful.
Yeah,
for real.
And that panel was awesome. And actually, I know another girls that not generate content, only being fan of you all. And it was awesome. I remember the play cornhole, that it was my first time, and I met. It was awesome to meet a lot of people. All the vibe. Oh, it was great. Your wife, Bob, is such a great woman. No, it's great. Yeah. I think that if you're thinking if you want to go or not, you have to go. It's one experience. What kind of a life?
All right, thank you.
I can't even say any more than that. Like, do you like people? If yes, great.
Even if you don't like people, that were like, I'm not coming because there are too many people, and they came and were blown away by.
And they were blown away. All right. So, do you like people? Yay or nay, doesn't really matter. Do you like football? Well, it doesn't matter. Do you like fantasy football? Also, kind of whatever. But do you like to have a good time? Do you like to learn new things? My husband, my sweet, blessed husband, he's a Lions fan, not a huge fantasy guy, does not care much about football, unlike his weirdo wife, right? So he goes, Jeff won the expo, according to Scott Fish, in he sat down with me on Sunday and he's like, I have never seen thousands of people together in one space and everyone is nice. Everyone is nice. Mm-hmm. Everyone is caring. They care about you. Like, oh, you look hungover. Would you like some water? Or what do you do for a living? Please tell me about your content. Where do you work? I've seen you on Twitter. I love this. I love that. It's just, you can literally be a no one. So there's a young lady. Her name is Rachel Wolford. I love you, girl. She is Rachel. Not, she's right. Rachel is not a content creator. She's a content consumer. And she comes to these and she loves going to the expo because she gets to meet the people in real life, IRL, as the kids don't say anymore. I don't even know, I'm too old for this. But she gets to go and meet everybody. So you can meet people like Marcus Grant. You can meet, the lowly folk like me. And,
I call us the RB2s.
We're not the C-3POs. We're the 4D2Os. I don't know. So we're just kind of.
By the way, your friend Rachel. She was the first one to sign up to get a ticket after it was announced.
Oh, no. She was waiting. She's waiting. Literally
30 seconds.
I love Rachel. I love
man. She needs some sort of award. You guys need to make her a trophy.
30 seconds that says Rachel had bought a ticket.
She needs a special shirt or an award for that.
That would be awesome.
Number one. She got number one. Yeah.
If you've never been to an expo, you can go to the expo, but here's the thing. When you go there Friday night, party meet and greet. You go there Saturday chill day, Saturday night party, Sunday panels. Also Canton, Ohio, fantasy football galore, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There are so many reasons to go to this. It does not have to do with just fantasy football, but if you're interested in this, if you like social media when it comes to fantasy football, even if you just read it a little bit, you don't have to know anybody. You can just go and talk to anybody. Nobody cares.
Everyone will talk to you, even if you don't know who you are.
Right?
No, who cares? It's just kind of like, hey, what do you think about this dude in draft class so-and-so? It's like, here I am. Then go ask the same question to 10 people and see the random things that they answer with. Although, also check out the outfits. Specifically,
the outfits are something to be desired.
Yeah, Andy Behrens, I see you.
All right, Kacey, you're a veteran here, two-time Cindy. Talk about the first year, talk about the second year. Was there a difference?
Yes, big difference.
The same.
Big difference for me.
Okay.
Because the first year I went, there was some stuff going on in my life. So that didn't equal me having the best time. Okay. I got pulled over the first night I was there because I was lost. And but when I told the guy that I was there for a Fantasy Football Expo, he looked at me like, what? Okay, you're cool. Do you need help getting to your hotel? So my suggestion is also try to stay as close to the hotel or in the hotel. Just because unless you have buddies because I was there by myself. See, that's another thing, So you learn. It was great though, because I got to meet some of my best friends that I only know from the internet, but I got to meet them in person. Right. So that was one of my favorite things. I'm not like Lauren where I can drink and then wake up and be okay. So I missed a lot of the earlier panels. I did not make it to a lot of those earlier panels because I was throwing up. Yes. Okay. So anyway,
we're talking about you, Lauren.
But my sister came that year and she had a blast. She said it was so cool seeing all these people I talk about. And then she said it was the coolest thing having people come up to me and say my name and be like, you feel like, oh, thank you, So, I mean, she had a blast. She met a bunch of people and that was just awesome. And I was so glad she came. But the second year, so last year was my second year. And that one was so freaking amazing because my wife came with me. My dad surprised me the next.
Beautiful. Oh.
Yeah, it was great having my family. Bring your family with you. Bring your family. Feel like a rock star for a couple of days. Go and be like, these are my people. Like my wife, she plays fantasy football, but she's not really invested the way that any of us or anybody even
It's the same thing with my husband. He's kind of like, okay, I'm in one league, I don't care.
She's in our home league, right? And that's our home league, right?
Exactly.
Lauren, can we switch spouses?
Come on now.
About fantasy.
I'm just like, my wife's already coming with me again this year, and then I'm trying to convince my dad.
She's so sweet.
She is such a sweet person, and like she lost her name tag, and they were like, Sarah Royer, you need to come up. Sarah Royer, you need to come and get your badge. And I was like, oh, that's my wife. That's my wife. I'm running over there. And Shane Manila's like, wait, your last name's not Kasem? What's Royer? So you learn all kinds of fun stuff. So now she's going to be Kasem next year. But yeah, I mean, my dad surprised me, was freaking amazing. He had a blast. He was.
I remember that I think that I know first that your dad was over there than you.
Yeah, you did, because he came up and told me, and he told me, and I was like, oh yeah, like he described you, and I was like, wow, holy, so you knew he was there before me. It was so helpful.
Kacey, I don't know if I shared this funny story with you, but when he showed up and he didn't know where you were, anything, right? So the first person he meets is my wife.
Yeah.
At the checkout.
Not a bad first person.
Hi, I'm here to, and my wife's like, I don't know anybody. So I get this phone call from her, and she goes, you know a Kacey Royer or Kacey Kasem or something like that? I'm like, yeah, why? And he goes, well, her dad's here to surprise her. I'm like, well, that's awesome. And he goes, well, great, but where is she? I go, well, I think it was, when did he come in?
He came in. I was doing draft night out, so it was that Saturday.
That's what I thought. And so, because she called me during the Kings Classic, I'm drafting.
You're like, what's the emergency?
And I go, well, Kacey's probably downstairs.
That was during the auction, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said,
oh my God.
She's here probably downstairs, the next floor down. I said, well, what do you ask him what he wants us to do? And I don't remember if he said, don't say anything until she gets back or whatever it was. But then, but it was just funny that my wife calls and I'm like, oh my gosh, it must be really, and it was like, oh gosh, we got to find Kacey because her dad's here.
Yeah. He came up the elevator and walked in, and I was right at the front drafting, and he walked over and was like, but then he was like, we had just started, like we were probably in like round 3 or 4, and he was like, I don't know if I really want to sit around and wait. So we went and met my wife, was at a bar down the street. So they just went and came and picked me up when we were done.
That's another thing I would like to point out for anyone who wants to come and visit this part of Canton, right? So normally it's around the Hall of Fame or the DoubleTree. There's also another couple hotels, but there's a lot of really good food. Tons of really good food, tons of really good restaurants. So even if you're really not into this, maybe you're going there with a friend or a significant other or your spouse, go try some of the food in Canton. It's pretty darn good.
For those who are listening too, Kacey, this will make you feel good. This year during both Friday party, Saturday party, and all day Sunday for the expo, there will be a rotating bus that is going to pick people up.
That is radical.
To drive.
Do you remember this conversation from last year? I didn't know if you remembered it or not. I was like, there has to be like, someone like, if I got paid like $3,000, I would do it.
A friend of mine who's in actually a league with me in Columbus runs a company that does this. He goes, oh, well, I'll just bring one of our 22 passenger party buses up.
That's dope.
And he goes,
awesome.
So he gave me a good price.
You are my hero.
Well, so hey, so here's where you can help me. I need a sponsor to help me pay for it. So one of your 15 companies you work for.
Oh my God. Okay, now you're not my hero anymore.
Then have them
email me and tell me how much it costs.
$4,000.
Oh,
yeah, see, I don't. Yeah, that's. Sorry, I can't help you. I'm an independent.
I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. I'll just say.
Email me.
But we'll get it.
Or DM me.
If not, then I'm going to pay for it. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. So that's going to help a lot of people who, like Kacey, doesn't know the area very well or doesn't want to drink too much and drive, which totally understand.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we're going to do the.
We do a sponsored by on there, right? Like
that's just it. We're sponsored. We're going to have big sign on both sides of the bus.
That is so. Yeah,
tell me how much it costs.
Well, that would have made me so happy.
Sponsored by Stepmom Lauren. This may be sponsored by Stepmom Lauren.
You just want
and use the picture of you sitting in the women's fantasy thing where you're like, you said you were like all derped up. She's like Lauren, sponsored by moi.
we can talk about that because I like that.
So, okay, Lauren, I think you've already shared all of it, but your experience at the Expo, other than over your rehab stint afterwards.
Lots of water, guys. Make sure you're drinking lots of water.
Always hydrate. Always hydrate. That was child's play. Child's play. No, so my experience, you guys, I kind of combined my whole entire thing here, but I got a very unique access to last year's Expo, which was super cool. I got to fill in for Mike Clay from ESPN to be in the Kings Classic as the only girl in it. So I got to totally mess with Michael Fabiano, which was phenomenal. Hung out with Bob Harris, got to get to know Howard Bender better. All these people that I have followed and have been huge fans of for a long time. I got to draft with them. It was terrible. My team sucked. And then I had to get interviewed on it was garbage. And then I had to get interviewed on Sirius XM and talk about how bad my team was. That was even better. It was cool. I had to try to tell Howard, I love that Rex Burkhead pick I took. There was no one else left. It's a 14-team league. This sucks.
14-team with 3 flex. Yeah.
Oh, it was rough, but it was so fun. And again, this is the whole point about the Fantasy Football Expo is not to show up and say like I'm so important and this is what I do. The cool thing about this experience is that you can again be a nobody in fantasy football. Just come and enjoy Canton. You can be a relative, you can be a friend, you can be into it, you can be not into it, you can know people there. It doesn't matter. Everyone there is really, really nice. And it's just cool to hang out. And Bob, you do a great job because you throw a hell of a party, my man.
Thank you.
Like it is literally for a whole weekend. We go out.
We have a hell of a party and a fantasy football thing.
It is so fun, and everyone is super kind. And what I love about this industry so much, which I think that I've said this in a couple different podcasts too, but what the Fantasy Football Expo does a good job of creating a microscope and a microcosm of what the fantasy football industry is. And it really is on its whole a brotherhood or a sisterhood, but it's a family. And everyone wants everyone else to succeed. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter your gender, who you are for, how big you are, how small you are. None of that matters. What matters is how are you doing? And when somebody asks you that, they actually mean that question and they want to listen to that. Someone asks you, how are you doing? You're like, I don't really like fantasy football. They're like, hey, neither does my wife. What's going on? Can I buy you a beer? Like, whatever. Like, no, I don't think, all right, let me get you water. What a Diet Coke. Like, it doesn't matter. It's such a fun, cool experience and environment to be around. And kind of one of those things you're never going to experience anywhere else in the world except for in Canton at the Fantasy Football Expo. I cannot say more about it. I absolutely love it.
And I appreciate all the kind words, lady. I mean,
except for Bob Lug, he sucks. But everything else is really good.
All the kind words.
Except when I talk in fantasy football.
He loves me, I swear.
But no, I mean, and again, that's what I try to tell people when somebody says, well, and I've had people who say, I don't know because when I'm on Twitter, there's a lot of trolls and I get a lot of grief for some things that I say. And I go, you know what? You'll never see those people at the expo.
No, they're not going to come to the expo.
I'm just going to tell you right now.
And
it's not going to happen.
No matter who you are, if you put out content, you don't put out content, if you love fantasy football, like fantasy football, even just go.
Or just
kind
of sort of know what it is. Maybe
it's such an intro. I met so many people, and I just had Kat from Don't Pour My Milk on my podcast. Like he's somebody I met at the expo last year, and he showed me what they were working on, and I was like, oh, okay, I gotta get you on my podcast. So like such a great time, networking, talking, making friends, making connections. It's great.
It is.
No,
100%.
Like you said, it's so cool to see it continue to grow. This
especially
year,
with us.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, because by doing that, more ladies feel comfortable coming.
Yes.
A lot of the guys, I can't come. Wife and kids will be very upset. I'm like, well, you can bring them.
Bring them.
Also, kid friendly too. Totally kid friendly.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. So the Saturday night party is a block party right behind the Hall of Fame on the street. They have a Ferris wheel and a zip line that we all can go ride on if you want.
Hey.
And guess what? 2024s, they will have a water park on site.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
like family
bring your
vacay.
because now you can go to the water park, you can go ride the
Situation.
Ferris wheels, you can do zip lines, while we're all doing our fantasy stuff right up the street, because the expo this
Screw
year is going to be
fantasy.
inside the dome.
The zip line.
Yeah. So this year we're not going to be in the hotel. We've outgrown it. And that's the biggest hotel in Canton. So we're going to be inside a 100,000 square foot dome that has a football field in the middle of it. And we're going to be at the end on the end zone flat spot while people can still throw footballs around. We're going to have the stages set up there out in the lobby. SiriusXM will be there, of course, all weekend as always. So it is everything we want it to be. And we're going to keep growing it. We're going to keep making it bigger so that we have 5,000 family members. We don't care. That's where we're shooting. We want to get there so that everybody feels comfortable. It doesn't matter how many's there, who you are, where you come from, what you do. It doesn't matter. If you play fantasy football, come, especially if you've never been to the Football Hall of Fame. Now you have 2 reasons to come, because now you can go visit the Hall of Fame while you're here. And by the way, you get a free Hall of Fame ticket when you buy your weekend package.
Yes.
We still haven't gone.
Yes.
So that's
No?
right. Those tickets don't expire. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So, come, bring your friends, bring the family, make a weekend out of it. Some people come in Thursday. So it's a great time. So again, ladies, thank you for being here. I really honored.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about this Queen's
Muchas
Classic.
gracias.
So once again, just real quick, Gemma, and we'll just go right down the line. Just kind of share your Twitter, your site, and then we'll take it out.
Well, you can contact me in Twitter I think that is at _ Gemma with _M Martinez. And well, you can see things of fantasy football. You can see that I'm writing for NFL Fantasy in Espanol. And also I write for Football Goes MX, that is all women Spanish football teams.
Perfect. Yeah.
Love it.
Love it. Kacey.
Yeah, I have a podcast called Get Real with Kacey Kasem, and it can be found on wherever you love to listen to your football podcast or any podcast. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at @DKCKasem and the podcast at GetReal_pod. It's KACEY. I know. We already talked about how my dad doesn't know how to name people properly.
And last but not least, our lovely Lauren.
Stepmom Lauren, it's social media at Stepmom Lauren, LAUREN. No, not that Stepmom Lauren. I'm the fantasy football Stepmom Lauren. Thank you. You can also find all my work on my website, stepmomlauren.com. I'm a writer, analyst, video person, if you will, for the Fantasy Footballers FTN, Fantasy Pros, and NBC Sports Edge. Come on, it's only 4. It's good. It's good.
That's good.
All of all these ladies, they're
And if you haven't noticed, all of these ladies are a big deal. And there are 9 others that are going to join them for the Queen's Classic in
We're going to have so much
Ohio,
fun, by the way.
Saturday, August.
Go to the King's
12th.
Classic. Come to
So
the
make
Queen's
sure you come
Classic.
visit all of them, and it'll be great. So for these lovely ladies, my angels, I'm Bob Lung. Everybody have a great week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon. Hey, everybody. Do you want to continue to learn more about the Fantasy Football Expo? Well, then subscribe to our channel so you don't miss an episode. Expo registration is now open, so make sure you visit thefantasyfootballexpo.com to get your tickets now. And come and experience fantasy football's greatest weekend in Canton, Ohio this August 11th through the 13th.